Just as I promised, we've defeated the Biden inflation nightmare and achieved explosive new economic growth. The Atlanta Fed is predicting an astounding 5.4% GDP growth in the fourth quarter, and that's despite the fact that we had a Democrat shutdown. We would have had, that number would have been 7%, which is a number nobody's ever heard of.
President Trump bringing his cabinet together today as Americans say the economy isn't just an issue, it's the issue. Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Brian Brenberg, along with my co-hosts Taylor Riggs, Dagen McDowell, Jackie DeAngelis, and with us for the hour, Slate Stone Wealth Chief Market Strategist Kenny Polcari. Good to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Well, as we head toward the midterms, brand new Fox News polling shows the single biggest issue for voters is the cost of living. The White House says it's working on two big pressure points, housing and health care costs. President Trump starts 2026 with a 44% approval rating, and the White House believes a growing economy and growing paychecks will be the difference maker. Okay, Kenny, so let's talk economy. Let's talk about how Americans are feeling, what the president's saying about the future. What do you make of all
Right. So listen, I get it, because prices were elevated when he came in the door. That's the problem. They haven't gone down. And the only way to get them to go down is if we have a full-blown recession in this country, which nobody wants to do. So people have to, we've been saying this all along. Ultimately, these prices are going to become normal. But until they do, and people's wages start to go up, until they see that they're able to get ahead of the curve, they're going to feel like this. But this has got nothing to do with Trump policies or where the economy is. I think the economy is in a very good place, and I think it's setting up to be in a better place as the year goes on.
Jackie, voters say they want Trump more focused on the economy than he has been, okay? Only 8% think he's been too focused on it. 68% says he hasn't been focused on it enough. Do you agree with that? Like, does that strike you as reasonable, or do you think people are being too hard on a guy who, as president, has a lot on his plate?
Sure, he does. He's been very focused on foreign policy. And with the ICE operations in Minneapolis, I think some of these issues are taking center stage for people who are being polled, and Americans in general who are focusing on these issues. The president is laser focused still on the economy. He's talking about housing and health care. I would add food to that still. Brian, I'm going to put this in terms that you can better understand rather than a Big Mac barometer, but my Chipotle barometer.
I understand these terms.
A veggie bowl used to be $9. It's about $15 now. You want to throw a drink in there for fast food to eat lunch and have a drink is almost $20. Those prices are still too high. Now, I'm not necessarily sure because minimum wage went up and all the rest of, the rent and the electric costs, all these things are adding to what businesses have to pay to be able to support their business. You're never going to see that all come down. And that is the product of Biden's inflation conundrum, which is why I kept saying at that time, don't do this. Don't raise the minimum wage. Don't spend recklessly. Don't get the prices up, because then certain aspects of them you never bring down once again. I'll add to the stats that you took from the poll, because this is one, if people say affordability is the issue, I hear that and I still think it is too. But this poll found that 54%, the majority, thinks that the country is worse off today than it was a year ago. And despite my Chipotle example and the cost of food or what your medical costs or housing costs are, things are not categorically worse than they were a year ago. But you can't discount how people feel, and that is what they're saying. So what does the president have to do to combat that? So far, I would say for the last couple of months, he's really hit the road on the messaging. He's really talking about the benefits of the big, beautiful bill and saying, hold on, they're coming. I'm not sure what else he can do, but this is how people feel. And this will resonate when they show up to vote in the midterms.
Dagen, I was thinking about this. I feel like you could be a good coach. You know how to get someone's attention. You know how to just get straight to the point.
But what if she screams at you too much?
No, but can I say?
Scream.
If I'm screaming, I'm on the phone.
Well, you could
screaming
be a
at
phone
someone
coach.
who's been rude to me, unnecessarily.
So all that said, so I think you could be a good coach, because I think you cut right through to the heart of things. If you were coaching the president, okay, people want him to be on the economy more. You're coaching them. They're talking about things like housing and health care. Maybe you like that. But what would you be coaching him on, given these polls, given what you're seeing in the economy? Where's the real opportunity for his economic message?
I would tell him nothing. I would
That's one
tell
way to
him
coach.
to change nothing. He knows what he's doing. He's always looking, I think I said this yesterday, he's looking like 50 steps ahead, and he's playing with pieces on a game board, and you don't even know what game he's playing. And it's not a game, it is real life and real money. That being said, there are some of the things that the administration has, for example, the whole tariff trade thing, amazing. It worked out exactly how he wanted it to. No inflation from the tariffs. We've pulled back on buying stuff from overseas. Money came in, what, $250 billion last year. The trade deficit narrowed dramatically. There's just nothing wrong with that. I think that there are a lot of things, the less you talk, the better about markets. Because what's been going on in the markets, he could talk more about the dollar, strong dollar, need to hear that. But copper hitting an all-time high, that is inflationary. That translates to higher prices for industrial goods, home building, you name it. So what the Fed did yesterday, we can talk about this, was spot on. But the president's going to say what he wants to say. But if I had one note, he needs to talk more strongly about the Great Greenback.
Right, but he did make the comment that he didn't think that the decline in the dollar was excessive, which gives you the sense that he'd like to see it go lower, which is a little bit of a problem because a lower dollar will cause commodities to continue to move higher. Exactly what we're talking about, copper.
Lower dollar.
Gold, silver.
Lower dollar is inflationary, and lower dollar makes it harder to sell our debt, which we doggone well to people overseas,
Agreed.
which we doggone well need to.
Okay, so, and you've been on this, Taylor. You talk about metals all the time. You're like the heavy metal person of this panel.
I'm still waiting for my gold bar.
Yes, I know. You have to wait a little bit longer.
I didn't mean
on
to
that.
take your thunder.
No,
I just had
you
metal.
didn't.
I have heavy metal poisoning. I'm just kidding.
Cilantro.
Sounds like a good song,
is a
though.
great cure
Heavy
for that.
metal. Okay, so Taylor, though, help me out here because you're on this.
Yeah.
That's all cost of living stuff. That, by far, that is what people are concerned about in these polls, okay?
Yeah.
So I asked Dagen for some coaching. She talked about the dollar. What else would you be saying to the president right now? If you want to maximize where he stands now into the midterms, what's the part of the story he's got to lean into here?
Okay, let's talk about then the good news, the leaning in. We got a surge in capital goods imports from that trade deficit that we got this morning, which returned to normal levels, which I guess you could argue is good. That means we're ordering again. I know it's from China, but hey, we're ordering, which means we're buying things. Jobless claims are steady, unbelievably low and steady. And productivity came in at an unrevised 4.9% for the third quarter. Productivity on average is 2.1%. We are over double the long-term average of productivity. You've seen that in a slew of earnings reports, and I know we'll talk about AI in the next block, but that is actually what could save the day as long as that doesn't translate into too many layoffs, which we can also talk about next block as well. But the issue, I'm a little bit here with Dagen. I'm not extremely, just a little bit worried about some of this dollar weakness. Yes, it's good for exports, but it does mean that there is something else going on. Now, the good news is one shop, Federated Hermes, had a good note out saying that it's mostly actually foreign bankers hedging. They're not selling the dollar. They're not selling assets. A lot of this is hedging, which makes me feel better. This is not the sell America trade. But if copper is surging by the most in more than 16 years, now, is that speculative trading from China, or is that Dr. Copper, which is a good thing because that's the economy roaring, or is it inflationary? Brent just hit 70 again. Brent crude.
Yeah.
That's not great. Gold, silver is a record. And then Bitcoin, which we all thought was digital gold, keeps falling. So it's not the alternative to the precious metal. So there's just a lot going on that there's good news, but then there's something underneath the current that I just can't quite figure out.
I would say that's the speculative bubble collapsing, but it is the real economy that is inflating these metals.
I agree. I agree. But I also think, to your point, and you make great points about the macro data, but to Jackie's point, when people get asked a question in a poll, Joe Q. Public, you know, the common person out there is not thinking productivity, is not thinking goods ordered, is not thinking the labor market. They're thinking their own pocketbook. What's it cost them when they go to the grocery store? What's it cost them when they get the utility bill? That's where they feel uncomfortable and where they feel anxious.
But I will just add that that question wasn't about the economy specifically, even though 68% did say that he wasn't focusing enough on the economy. That question was just about whether the country was better or worse off than it was a year ago, which includes the economy, but it also includes the other issues that I brought up. And I'm wondering if that is more front and center on people's minds right now than prices per se. You know, the train has left the station on the cost of your lunch going up, but there's nothing really that's going to change to fix that aspect of it. So he's got to focus on other aspects of it. But to say that things are worse than they were last year, I don't really think is fair.
To me on that one, I think that's a great point. That's an overall number. We'll just finish on this. Sometimes when you renovate a house, you got to make it worse before you make it better. You're going to put a lot of things at play, right? There's going to be a lot of sheetrock laying around. There's going to be nails in the floor.
Demolition.
Right, because you got to demolish some things. I think part of what he's doing is he's doing so much all at once. The first year felt like a lot of demolition. We'll see if 2026 feels like, you know, maybe the new sheetrock going up, the first coat of paint. People like to see that. Let's go to this. Border Czar Tom Homan speaking in Minneapolis this morning after taking over immigration enforcement efforts in the city. Matt Finn is live there with the latest. Matt.
Yeah, Homan made some pretty big announcements today and a change in how ICE will operate here in Minnesota and perhaps other states moving forward. Homan said that the state attorney general here, Keith Ellison, has told the Trump administration that jails here can begin notifying the federal government when they are going to release wanted criminal illegal aliens.
I had a very good meeting with Attorney General Ellison, and he has clarified for me that county jails may notify ICE of the release dates of criminal public safety risks so ICE can take custody of them upon the release from the jail.
So you have heard the Trump administration over and over say, open up your jails, and a lot of this chaos will come to an end here in Minnesota and perhaps nationwide. So now Minnesota is saying that it will possibly be doing that. And that's important because the state will signal when they're going to release someone so the federal government can come in, take it from there, possibly detain someone. But it will come down to local sheriffs and jails cooperating as well. Now, also Homan announced that agents here will focus on targeted enforcements moving forward, public safety threats and national security interests. Our impression is that agents will end the roving patrols here. Sources were telling us that on the ground, and now Homan seemed to confirm that. The roving patrols have been particularly controversial because that is when the agents can drive around, pop out of the car, immediately question someone and ask for papers. Although Tom Homan says if you've entered the country illegally, it's never off the table that you may be questioned on the street. Homan was also asked about a new video that appears to show Alex Preddy in a heated clash with ICE agents the week before he was shot and killed last Saturday. Preddy apparently spits at an official ICE vehicle. He kicks and busts a taillight before being tackled to the ground. A family representative tells Fox the video is Preddy. He was injured but didn't receive medical care. An organization called the News Movement says it shot the video for a documentary. News Movement reports Preddy's gun is visible on him in that incident. An attorney for the family writes, a week before Alex was gunned down in the street, despite posing no threat to anyone, he was violently assaulted by a group of ICE agents. Nothing that happened a full week before could possibly have justified Alex's killing at the hands of ICE on January 24th. Now, the family attorney claims that Preddy was assaulted by ICE in this new video, but Border Patrol on the ground here tells me if you kick their car, if you damage their car, that is a crime. And if Preddy was armed while he kicked and spit at the agents, that could be a felony because he was in possession of a gun while committing another crime. Also, we've been reporting a lot about the anti-ICE, anti-Trump networks on the ground here. Tom Homan addressed that, saying he is aware of the signal chats and some of the underground networks, if you will. Here, he said the Trump administration does not want to reveal its hand, but that justice is coming. Back to you guys.
A lot going on there. Thanks for that roundup, Matt Finn.
Yeah.